What's up, witches? Today I'm here to show you the process of me making my own version of 9 herbs water based on the Anglo-Saxon 9 herbs charm, which is a 10th or 11th century poem or collection of remedies, prayers, blessings, and charms that contains a lot of very old names of certain herbs and kind of expounds upon their magical and medicinal properties. So I'm going to list those original herbs in the description down below, but since I don't have all of them, I decided to make my own version using herbs that I do have growing in my yard and just growing in the environment around me. First, I'm starting with some yarrow. This is yellow yarrow that I have growing in my front yard, which I did originally plant because I knew that it had medicinal properties. And while I didn't know exactly what those were at the time, it was just something that I wanted to have with me. And I have quite a few cuttings of that I took. I tried to grab at least 4 of everything because 4 to me is kind of a sacred number of the Vanir deities that I work with frequently, and I think that's maybe just because there are usually said to be 4 of them if you include Nerthus. So I'm just breaking that up into this mason jar, and I was very particular when I gathered these herbs that instead of just plucking them or cutting them with a scissors or a knife, I did use my sacred ritual knife, which is a flint-knapped obsidian blade, because I have read, and it is my own personal belief, that if you use steel or cold iron to cut these plants, it will also negate their properties for magical workings, so I didn't want to do that. And since I am not a trained or certified herbalist in any sense of the word, I am not using this water for any type of medicinal purposes. This is going to be a purely magical application. And when I say 9 herbs water, I also mean that in the sense of like a Florida water, which is not actually water, it's more of like an eau de toilette or an alcohol-based solution like a perfume. So you can use, in this case, I'm just using Everclear or distilled grain or alcohol spirits because it's got the highest amount of alcohol in it and is the best for this extraction method that I'm using. This is basically making a tincture, and then I might water it down with some distilled water once it's done and put it in a spray bottle, and I'm going to use it as kind of like a cleansing spray. So after the yarrow, I'm adding some echinacea. This is some echinacea that I also have 1 or 2 growing in my front yard right now, and it also has magical properties as well as medicinal properties. You will often see echinacea, which I actually could probably use some of right now to clear this congestion that I'm dealing with. You will see echinacea throat drops that you can use as cough drops and the like. So definitely wanted to make sure to get at least some of that in there. Next, I'm adding some of my Salvia plant. And I did also manage to grab at least 4 sprigs of that. As you saw with the yarrow, in some of the cases I'm like stripping the leaves off of the stem, and in others, if it's just small enough, I'm just putting the whole plant, stem and all, into the jar. This one I think I started with the leaves and then just decided that since the leaves were being stubborn, it could all go in there. before going in with the last of the Salvia plant. So much like I did, feel free to kind of adapt this, use whatever particular herbs you have on hand. You know, I even thought about, along with this lavender that I also harvested from the one plant in my front yard that you saw me plant in my vlog video. I almost ran down to the grocery store and just picked up like some rosemary to throw in there, but I figured since I had the lavender, that was kind of close enough in the same plant family, and so I really just wanted to use what I already had and what was growing around me, because necessity is the mother of invention in witchcraft for sure. So also from my front yard, you will see here what I think is either cinquefoil, or it's either, according to Google Lens, Indian or Norwegian strawberry, aka just wild strawberry. I thought maybe it was cinquefoil because of the yellow flowers. And one of the herbs in the 9 herbs charm is called Fille, which some of these old words we scholars aren't really sure what it could be referring to. So in this case, Fille, it says could be Chervil or possibly sweet Cicely. I wanted to try to find some chickweed, but I couldn't find anywhere in the usual spot where I had last time, so I just went with this from my front yard. And then also I got really lucky because one of the herbs actually listed in the 9 herbs charm is plantain, referred to in the poem as Wegbrade or Waybread. Don't ask me why. And I couldn't find any in my overgrown backyard, and I knew that it just grew in the median of like the concrete strip in between the road by my work. It didn't have any from there. So I went and checked my front yard, and there I did get lucky enough to find one of those longleaf plantains and also these smaller broader leaf plantains. So you can just find these growing wild in fields and everywhere around you. So I found some just in my front yard out by the curb where the mower hadn't gotten into it. And lucky I did too, because when I went back to work the next day they had mowed it all down. But the land spirits provided. And so after the plantain, you will see me adding here some lemon balm, which I did plant in a little container in my backyard, and I'm also making some lemon balm tincture right now, which is supposed to be good for relieving anxiety and things like that. So that one I am going to test on myself internally and medicinally, but for this one, do not ingest it. This is for external spraying of cleansing and magical purposes only. After all of those fresh herbs that I had managed to harvest, I have here some dried hyssop from a plant that I got on clearance last year, but it was already like fall going into winter, so I didn't want to put it outside. I was trying to keep it alive indoors until I could put it outdoors, but it didn't make it. So I just kept it dried in this reusable grocery produce bag. Since it's a fine mesh bag, I figured it would be fine for storing these dried leaves. I know that you can also use this medicinally for like teas. And it's good for colds and things like that from what I've read, but again, this is just, I wanted to incorporate herbs that either did have some like beneficial properties, even though I'm not using it for that purpose, because I feel like it also just can pack a magical punch too, in that sense. So now you'll just see me kind of setting the intention. As you know, I have ADD brain, but I was trying to stay focused this time and actually take the time to set some intention, ask the gods and goddesses for their help, and imparting this with some magical cleansing properties. And now you will see me going in with the Everclear, which again is just to kind of form a tincture to really extract all of the oils and just magical and medicinal properties from these herbs and get all those good magical juices flowing in there. So I'm just going to pour that until the leaves are covered. And once that's done, I'm just gonna tamp it down again to try to really make sure everything in there is covered by the alcohol. And then I'm going to just put the lid on it and basically let it sit for anywhere up to 2 weeks to as long as it takes, basically, as long as you like, whenever it seems ready at this point, because using the alcohol should make sure that any waters or oils contained within these plants does not go bad, basically. This one I went with an algaes on the top, and then just to be extra fancy, I tried to pour a little wax seal on the top here. It didn't end up staying on and sticking to the metal, which should be for obvious reasons, but I have all these little wax melts, kits and whatnot, and I just wanted to, just literally put the final finishing seal on this magical 9 herbs charm, or 9 herbs water. So that about wraps this up. I did manage to get some quick little footage here of what the tincture looked like the very next day. It's this very rich, deep, vibrant green color already, which is cool. So I hope that you enjoyed making this 9 herbs water based on the Anglo-Saxon 9 herbs charm with me. And until next time, stay classy, pagan.